I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V, and today I'm just sitting here making my breakfast and stuff, and I thought we would have a quick talk about negative self-talk. You see, this is something that I've realised recently I am extremely guilty of. In fact, if you're a regular watcher, you know that I do pole class quite often, yeah? And I realised in the last few classes, I have been talking about myself in a really poor fashion. Every time I try and do something, I open up with, oh, I can't do that, or that's going to be hard, or my bum's too big to get it all the way up there, or whatever. And I'm saying those things before I've even tried. That is holding me back. I know that is holding me back. When we go into something thinking that we're going to fail it, we do. And I can back that up with some science, you know. Let me just look this up. Okay, so there was a study done by the Harvard Kennedy School. It was called Domain-Specific Effects of Stereotypes on Performance. So if you want to look it up, look that up. And basically, what it worked out was, if you reminded women before a verbal exam that they were women, they did really, really well at it. If you reminded those same women before a verbal exam that they were Asian, they did less well at it. If you reminded those same women that they were women just before a maths exam, they did more poorly than if you reminded them just before the same maths exam that they were Asian. And so what that tells me is that our self-talk, the way we think about ourselves, the stereotypes that we think about ourselves, the story that we tell ourselves about ourselves, has a massive effect on our general performance. I'm burning my toast, I can smell it. Hang on. So, I have told you before, and I'm sure if she watches she's getting sick of me telling you about it actually, about my friend who once, in my presence, knocked a glass over, smashed it, spilled water everywhere, and responded by saying to herself, "You stupid, stupid woman!" And it really shocked me because I've never heard her speak about anybody like that before. I know for a fact if I had dropped and smashed and broken that glass and said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she would have said, "It's just a thing. Accidents happen. The important thing is that you weren't hurt." Because that is how she speaks to people. She's nice, right? But she's not nice to herself. Now, why is that? Why are you holding yourself to a different standard of behaviour than you would anybody else on any other thing? Why do you do that? What makes you so special that you alone in the world are capable of never having an accident, never breaking a thing? Right? You're just the same as everybody else, and that means that just the same as everybody else, you deserve to be told, accidents happen, it's just a thing. Things break sometimes. It's not the end of the world. So that's what self-talk actually is, right? We're talking about the way that we are speaking about ourselves internally. Now, you might not have a very verbal brain. You might think in pictures or in a more abstract way, but you will still have an internal voice even if you don't actually hear it as words. So that manifests in things like self-criticism, but also self-reinforcement, self-soothing, but also self-sabotaging. All these little ways that we present a narrative to ourselves about who we are affects the way we speak about ourselves, and then that affects the way that we act as well, because we get this certain idea of ourselves as a particular kind of person, and our brain plays up to it. So our brains do that as a survival mechanism. I know that sounds strange because we're sabotaging ourselves, we're telling ourselves that we're not good enough, all these sorts of things, but the human brain is hardwired to remember more negative experiences than it does positive experiences. And the reason for that is it's a survival mechanism. You know, if you clearly remember when you ate that particular kind of mushroom that you were virulently sick, you're not going to touch that kind of mushroom again, right? It's a survival mechanism. But it means that we need to hear a lot more praise in order to let that sink in. And it also means that when we have a negative experience, we talk to ourselves in a negative way. And then our brain remembers the last time that we spoke to ourselves in that negative way. And it remembers the last thing that we did wrong. And it keeps reinforcing this idea that you have done things that are wrong. You are not good enough. You are clumsy. You are incapable. You get lost all the time. Whatever it is that your negative self-talk is telling you, it's reinforcing that as a survival mechanism. And so it's going to take you a little while to override that. But you can override that. So negative self-talk can look like things like, I'm not good enough, I'm never going to be good enough, nobody really likes me once they've got to know me. And the more of those negative feelings we think, the more it sort of feeds into this self-fulfilling cycle. So if you go into every interaction thinking nobody likes me, you might start coming across as a little bit unlikable. You're a bit aloof, you're a bit worried to be connecting with a person. It makes you seem suspicious to other people, and this becomes this self-fulfilling cycle. People feel awkward around you, so you think I'm unlikable, so you act more unlikable, and it all becomes this massive, massive thing. We replay those negatives really often, and as a result of that, it starts to become part of our story. It starts to become part of what we think we are. You are not those things. You are not what your internal dialogue is saying to you. Your internal dialogue is in fact controlled by you, and you can change it and you can make it positive. Now, I don't mean by that stand in front of a mirror every day and say, I am powerful, I am special, I am rich. Because if you don't really believe those things, all you're doing is saying words. In fact, what you're doing is you're teaching yourself to disregard what you're saying to yourself. Instead of doing that, when you knock the glass over and you go, you stupid, stupid woman, immediately correct yourself and say, accidents happen. Everybody makes mistakes. Things get broken. Every single time you notice yourself doing a negative nitpick, you need to pick yourself up on it. You need to change it to a positive. Because in doing that, you can change the story of how your brain is talking to you. Which is going cold. I'm going to come back in a minute. So we all have basic understanding of what negative self-talk is, yeah? It's that voice that tells you you're not good enough. It's that voice that tells you there's no point trying. It's that voice that believes negative things you were told in childhood about yourself. But it's also, it can be a personalising thing. So you drop a joke in the group chat and nobody responds straight away, and you immediately start thinking, did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? Have I offended somebody? Maybe they don't like me anymore. Maybe they never did like me and they've all got a secret group chat where they laugh about how much they don't like me. They're probably just busy. We all have a busy day, yeah? But we all do have this tendency to sort of personalise these things. We have a tendency to self-deprecate and take responsibility for things that are not our responsibility. We have a tendency to catastrophise, blow things out of proportion, assume other people's motives and intentions when we don't actually know them. And all those sorts of things contribute to this negative internal dialogue, which in turn can contribute to really poor mental health. And the more we speak negatively about and to ourselves, the more we will start to believe that those things are based in fact, and they're not. They're really not. And so, here's some practical things that we're going to do this week. Your homework and mine. We're not going to speak negatively to ourselves this week. It is going to be hard for me as well, and I would love to know how you get on with it. Maybe drop it in the comments and let me know how you get on. But what I want to do is completely stop my negative self-talk. Stop telling myself that I can't when I haven't tried yet. Stop telling myself I'm not good enough when I clearly am perfectly capable. Stop telling myself that people don't like me just because they haven't responded to me straight away. There is absolutely no need for me to be thinking things like that. And I was looking up different ways that science tells us that we can combat negative self-talk, because it's not just me that's talking about this yet. This is a recognised phenomenon. And on that note, it is worth noting now that some mental health conditions can affect your internal dialogue. It can, if you have depression, anxiety, PTSD, OCD, these things might contribute to more negative self-talk for you. It doesn't mean that this won't help, because acknowledging that you're doing it and becoming aware of it is the first steps to fixing it regardless. But if you do have a comorbid condition with your negative self-talk, it is worth talking that through with a properly licensed therapist or a properly medically qualified doctor, because I am not any of those things. I am just sharing what helped me to overcome my CPTSD and start to improve my internal landscape. These are just self-help things that worked for me, and they might not necessarily work for everybody, particularly if you have other conditions that are affecting your internal landscape. And so if you've been speaking to a doctor or a therapist or something like that, and they've told you different techniques, maybe stick with them, maybe come into the comments, share them with the class. We would love to hear all of them, because we're all here for the same reason, and that is that we need to improve that internal dialogue. So our homework this week, you, me, everybody, right? We are not going to say any negative things to ourselves. Now, we're only human and we've got into a habit of it. So when we slip up, We're not going to berate ourselves for that because that would be feeding into it more. What we're going to do is just tap our lips as if you're a child on the circle time carpet at school and you've been told fingers on lips to stop you talking, right? You're going to tap your lips, because that is something that you can do even if you're in conversation with somebody else and you have a negative thought about yourself. You can do that and nobody's going to notice or think that that's weird, and it's a physical reminder of you to stop doing that. And so you're either going to do that, or you're going to say out loud, if you're in a position to, stop, this isn't rooted in reality. Okay, so I knock over my coffee cup and I break the handle of it. I did that the other day and I was so upset with myself. I broke the handle of a mug that a friend had given me recently, and I was really, really upset about it. I thought that my friend was going to be upset about it, that I'd broken it so quickly, and my immediate thought was, you're so useless, you're always breaking things. And I had to tell myself, stop. That's not true. You've handled loads of things without breaking them. You're just remembering the few that you did break. Our thoughts are not necessarily indicative of our realities. Quite often our thoughts bear absolutely no relation to reality whatsoever, and neither do our feelings. And so if you're struggling and you don't have a positive thing to say in return to yourself, remind yourself that your thoughts are not your reality. Thing is, if we neglect this negative self-talk for long enough, those thoughts are going to become our reality, because we're going to end up not even trying to find joy in things, not even trying to be happy, not even trying to do this amazing thing that we'd probably be perfectly capable of, because we've already told ourselves that we can't. So this week, we're not going to be doing that. We're going to say, stop, this isn't rooted in reality. If we can, we're going to answer the thought. So that I'm so clumsy, I always break my favourite mugs. Well, I've had this mug for ages, it's not broken yet, so it's fine. This is not really true. This is not really rooted in reality. And so we're going to remind ourselves of that. We're also going to continue with the daily gratitude practice. You know that I do that, and I do it on YouTube every morning on the shorts to keep me accountable to it, because if I have a reason every day to look for something that I'm grateful for, and I have no excuse to just go, I can't be bothered today, then my brain starts consciously looking for things that I'm grateful for throughout my day and throughout my week, which makes me happier, because I'm noticing more of the things that make me happy. At the very beginning of doing my daily gratitude, I struggled to come up with something I was grateful for each day, and now I struggle to keep it to under a minute each day. I'm feeling much, much happier. So join in with me on that. If you need the accountability, come into my comments each day. Tell me what you're grateful for. Take that great big deep breath. If you feel that you can do it another way, do it through journaling, do it through in the mirror in the morning. Stand there and say, I'm really grateful that, I got up on time today. Even if it's just something that minor, start your brain off looking for those moments of achievement, and they're going to be more amplified in your head. That was a horrible noise my dog just made. I don't know if you can hear it. Another little thing that you can do to help you to get that whole noticing the daily thing that you're grateful for, and what would be really good exercise for you to do this week, if you can find time to just write one thing down each morning that is great about you. Can be anything, can be about how you look, it can be about what kind of friend you are, it can be about all the eclectic ranges of interests that you've got, it can be the fact that you've never fit in and you've always been a bit strange and you love that about you. Because then by the end of the week you will have 7 things that are brilliant about you that you can answer your negative self-talk voices with. It can be a tiny little thing. I'm awesome at timekeeping. I am really good at appearing to have my shit together when I don't. I am a great friend to people. I'm always there when someone needs me. I really like my hair. Whatever it is, write it down. And by the end of the week, you're going to have a whole bunch of things that you can respond to your inner bully with to get them to shut the heck up and leave you alone. And that can only be a good thing. I'm going to try it as well. I'm also going to be doing my daily gratitude every morning in the shorts, and I want you to join me in that. I want you to jump into my comments and tell me what you're grateful for, because I love seeing all the different things that bring you joy. It makes me really happy. Selfish it might be, but I love seeing people to be happy, and I'm okay to be selfish in that respect. And remember, every single time you hear yourself or you feel yourself start to self-deprecate, start to self-sabotage, start to say all these horrible things about you, just think to yourself, would I let someone speak about my best friend that way? Because I bet you wouldn't. Respond to yourself as if you were responding to that person being mean to your friend. We do not say things like that to people. That is not an acceptable way to speak about people. I am okay just the way I am. And you're going to keep responding to it. You're going to keep responding to it. And then at the end of the week, you might find that you have locked in a whole new habit that is going to really, really change your life. And that's how we get back right to the beginning. Basically, if you wouldn't speak to somebody else like that, you do not speak to yourself like that. We're going to do it as a week-long challenge, but after the week, I really hope that you carry it on, because it's going to make you so much happier. And that's what we're all about here on this channel. Anyway, like I said, I'll be here every morning on my daily gratitude in your shorts, taking a great big deep breath to start my day off right, letting you know what I'm grateful for, because it makes me happy. And assuming that I haven't killed him already, I'll be here with Dave the Terrarium, doing a little check-in with him on Tuesday to let you know how he is getting on. He seems to be doing all right at the moment, but he does need light, and I'm stealing the plug. So on that note, I will let you go, and you have yourself a magical week.